Hi everyone, this is Madeline. I am one of the mentors here on AMP Honors Program, and I just wanted to follow up again and talk a little bit more about job shadowing. I know some of the previous articles and videos are linked right here in this post, and I do recommend going back and just reviewing those because I think they contain some pretty valuable background info just to what I'm going to talk about today and whatnot. So last week we posted an article called Job Shadowing the Basics about, dress code, what you should wear, what not to wear. I kind of gave some of my tips on like what I found to work well and not so well. And just to review that, I would definitely err on the side of dressing up versus dressing down. That image in last week's post about business versus business casual is pretty helpful in my mind. But yeah, that's kind of just some of the basic information all in all. But one thing that I really wanted to discuss today that I think maybe might sound like a small detail, but I think it was super helpful to me was how important it is to bring like a notepad or a notebook and a pen, and showing up to your job shadow kind of prepared in that regard to ask questions, like writing questions in your notebook beforehand, and what questions can you come up with that you would bring to your job shadow and want to ask the provider that you're shadowing. So if you do have any ideas right off the top of your head, feel free to comment them below for the benefit of everyone else to see and read. But I remember filling out my notebook with a bunch of questions and having those kind of ready to go going into my job shadow. And then really, I guess the hard part was finding the time to ask those questions, because I think literally at every one of my job shadows, it's busy. Doctors are busy. I shadowed PAs and doctors, and they were full, jam-packed days. It was in one patient's room and then into the next room, and you kind of have to squeeze in your questions at the right times. Obviously not while with the provider visiting a patient, but most providers are very good about, they've had students shadow them before, and they know that students are going to have questions. So most providers will give you, the time, whether it be like 10 minutes sometime during the shadow or after the shadow, that you can kind of fire away your questions to them. And, maybe you won't have time for all 10 of them, but, prioritize your top ones and be able to ask that, because, it is usually a busy day. And, in the future, we will get into talking about good questions to ask and, sharing those ideas, because I think it's one of the most valuable parts of the job shadow is not only are you observing the provider and the kind of a day in the life in a sense, but you're also, that's your opportunity to really learn about the good, the bad, the ugly, and, hear the real world experiences of the provider that you're shadowing. So not only that, I will add also, your notepad can also be used to like jot things down that you find to be interesting or that you want to do more research on, whether it be procedures, diseases, conditions, all that stuff, during the job shadow. Maybe don't jot it down, while visiting with a patient or like right in front of the patient, just because that can be a little bit rude. You want your attention to be on the patient with like listening to their conversation with the provider, but in passing in the hallway, trying to write things down is always a very good idea. And then you can go back and refer to those things later. And yeah, so if you do have any questions that you do come up with that you think would be good questions to ask during a job shadow, please do comment below. And if you have any other concerns, questions, anything like that about job shadowing in general, also feel free to message me, other mentors, and we can get into a discussion about, addressing those concerns and going from there. So I hope this video was helpful, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.